Hey there guys, I am the Six Machine and welcome back to another Warhammer video. It's time again for more Eldar previews, but before we get to the official Warhammer community preview, which will be up today, or may actually be up already when this goes live, I don't know, but anyway, before we look at that, there has been another leak, and this time it's a big one, because we have now not only seen the model, but also the datasheet for one of the most requested new models in 40k, the Avatar of Khaine. Yes, it is a bit potato cam, so apologies again for the quality, but you can already tell from just that small look, this model is going to be absolutely gorgeous. It's got so much detail on it, and the proportions and the size of it just look like they're going to be incredible. I really love how the sword looks, and that raised hand is just unbelievably cool. And I think, as I said in the January tease video at the start of the year, I do think that this may well be model of the year already, and we aren't even out of January yet. But aside from his glorious model, we also have a pretty good look at his datasheet now, and boy is it a bit of a stunner. He's gone to a 14 power cost, so probably somewhere in the region of 250 to 260 points, which is a bit of a bump from his current 12 power or 200 point cost. But as you can see side by side, he has now got a hugely improved profile with better movement, better strength, toughness, 6 extra wounds, 2 extra attacks, an extra leadership, and been bumped to a 2-up save. He has had a huge glow up. And yes, unlike before, he does degrade now, but even that isn't too punishing, I don't think. Dropping from a 10-inch move to a 9 and then an 8 is actually really lenient compared to what you see on some models, and his ballistic skill dropping is a bit of a pain, but that's not his main damage output, so it's not the end of the world. The biggest drop is his attacks going from 7 down to 5, but even then, as you can see from his weapons profiles, he does have a sweep option on his sword, so he's still going to be able to pump out 10 attacks even at his bottom bracket, which is pretty damn good considering the stat line of those attacks. And on the weapon front, as you may guess, he has had a huge boost as well, with his ranged profile going to strength 12, minus 4 AP, d6 plus 2 damage, and being a beam attack now, so despite only being one shot, he can still potentially tag a good 2 or 3 units if your enemy lines them up nicely for you. And with a minimum of 3 damage, he's going to be able to damage tanks and vehicles pretty well, and still one-shot things like aggressors incredibly easily. And then of course on the melee front, where his main power lies, his sword can swing at a whopping strength 14, minus 5 AP, d6 plus 2 damage. So with his 7 attacks, he can easily one-shot things like Redemptor Dreadnoughts, or even have a good chance at knocking 2 of them down to their lowest bracket if you split up your attacks, because he does an average of 19 wounds, I believe, even after the minus 1 damage reduction. And then against Chaff, his sweep attack is the usual ×2 attack rolls, but instead of the usual minus 1 AP 1 damage profile that sweep attacks have, his is minus 2 and 2 damage. So he can very easily chew through entire squads of intercessors, cleaving through 7 or 8 of them with average rolling and just killing them outright. He is an unbelievably powerful beatstick, make no mistake. The Avatar has also had a decent buff durability wise. He lost the 5-up shrug from Molten Body, but he has gained a much better, in my opinion, 2-up save as we saw before, but also a 4-up invuln instead of the 5-up that he had previously, and he now also flat out reduces all damage taken by half. So all of those terrifying D3 plus 3 weapons in the game at the moment will now be doing between 2 and 3 damage to him instead of potentially 6, which will really help to keep him alive for a lot longer on the battlefield. And with his movement 10, you can pretty reliably get him a turn 2 charge to tie up some enemy units and keep him safe from a lot of those long-ranged high damage shots. He also has the Eldar Battle Focus and Strands of Fate rules, which should both really help him if you need to, guarantee some charges or get some extra movement, and then obviously being able to guarantee a saving throw for him, for example, if you roll well on the Strands of Fate, will also allow him to survive much longer than your opponent may think. And then in his other rules, he also lets friendly core Eldar units within 12 inches ignore modifiers for attrition tests, and those within 6 inches also get to reroll charge rolls. You might think this is a slight nerf as it used to be a 12-inch bubble before, but if you think about it, the Avatar with his new model is probably going to be on an 80mm base at least, instead of the 40mm that I think he's on now. So actually in terms of overall radius of his bubble of reroll charges, it's probably not going to be that much different, maybe a little bit smaller. But with all the other buffs he has, I think in general that is a very fair trade. And I think with the increased base size, you're not going to notice it all that much really. I think that overall, despite a price increase of probably 60 or so points, the Avatar is going to be a standout model on the tabletop, not just looks wise with his fancy new look, which as I said I think does look incredible, but also on a rules front he doesn't have, you know, things like the maximum damage per phase of people like Gaz or the Catan, but he looks to be so fast and tanky despite that, with all of his defensive buffs and the reducing damage by half. I really do think that he is going to be an absolute terror for enemies of the Eldar to face. And of course, he is going to be a mind-blowingly cool centerpiece for Eldar models to build around and you know, put in their force and give some really nice buffs to the remaining fast-moving units of your army. Giving them reroll charges is going to really help things like your Banshees and your Scorpions get into combat that much more efficiently. So yeah, model-wise, I think he looks great. Rules-wise, I think he looks really, really powerful. And I personally cannot wait until we can see a bit of a clearer image when GW does finally show off the full model. But what do you think? Do you like the model from what we can see so far? And also, what do you make of his datasheet? Is it good? Is it too good? Or were you expecting a bit more? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe for more Warhammer content from me. But until next time, I'll catch you later, guys.